I'm 20 years old and I just thought I would share some of my advice that I would give to other 20-year-olds. And just show what's helped me throughout the last couple years of my life. So from being 16 to 20, I've actually learned a lot of things about the world, about our minds, about the way we view the world, and stuff like that. And it's not an easy journey to try to change the way you think, because as a teenager you are so used to the opinions of other people, you are so used to hearing what you should and shouldn't be doing from the people around you, where it kind of stops you from tuning into yourself and you asking yourself, what is actually good for me and not good for me? Are the people who are telling me these things giving me the right advice that I need to hear, or are they just saying something that they think I should be hearing? That's why it's so important to just come back to yourself, recenter yourself with yourself, and not only do you find out more about yourself, but you also learn about yourself. You learn that maybe the things that someone else has told me that I should be doing isn't actually something that you should be doing. Because you will get that a lot throughout your life. You will get people telling you what they think is good for you. But if you think that you know yourself better and you have this intuition that is telling you to do something else, follow that path. Do it. Someone else that you trust can tell you what they think you should be doing. But if it's not what you feel like you should be doing, avoid that door. Don't enter it, because what's going to happen is you will enter it with this intuition telling you that it's not what you should be doing. And you will find your way back to where you started. Or maybe you'll find your way on the other side, having learned a lesson that this experience has taught you. Anyways, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of my advice for 20-year-olds or people who are in their 30s, 40s, at any age from a 20-year-old. So yeah, I'm 20 years old and I believe that I have something to share. And it's very hard to come up like this and just say I know I have something to share, but truly I believe that the experiences that I've gone through have shaped me, and I think it's worth sharing a little bit of my advice to you. Okay, so that's the intro. So my first bit of advice would be to let go of being perfect. You have to remember that life is not perfect. Life is very up and down, so it's very hard to be perfect all the time. And once you let go of trying to be perfect, you start to enjoy the imperfections. You start to see beauty in the imperfections. I feel like a lot of us are pushed to be these perfect people by 20 years old. It's very stressful for people in their 20s to think that they should have it all figured out, because that's just not the case. We are all new to this life. We all live in life for the first time. And it is very hard to know exactly what you should be doing, especially when you're just starting out your adulthood. Even for myself, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just following where my heart is taking me. And I think that's the most important thing that you can do, is just follow where your heart takes you, because 9 times out of 10 that would lead you in the right direction. And don't ask me what the other 1% is. Maybe it's not the right path, but it's an experience that you can learn something from, And also, don't regret anything. Don't regret things that you've done that you feel like have hurt people. Obviously, it's hard to come to peace with that. But once you come to peace with the things that you've done and you stop blaming yourself for what you have done, you can just come back to yourself and think, okay, well, the past is the past, and the past does not define who I am. And if something has happened to you that you don't agree with, you can also come to peace with that as well. There's been things in the past where people have done me wrong and I had so much hate towards them. Every single day I was thinking, oh, my life is like this because of this person, or my life is like this because I've experienced this. But once you let go of the things that have hurt you, You can live a free life. You can experience the life that you truly want to live without having these things pulling you back, you know? Because realistically, if you think about it this way, your past traumas and the things that have happened to you in the past can chain you now if you keep thinking back to them, if you keep thinking about them. You know, it's so important to forgive and let go, because if you keep holding on to these things, you will just live with it and it will be part of you. And do you really want that for yourself? Or do you want to live a better life? Do you want to live a life where you can just be free from these things, from the things that have happened in the past? You know, you have to think about it this way. If you are shown resentment towards someone, or if you feel resentment towards someone, I think that's the right way you say it, by the way. If you feel a certain way about someone because of what they've done, you're not going to be at peace, because you're going to be thinking about the negative things that they have done. And that means that you are still attached to that. So the best way to cut that off is to just forgive and accept. Now, this is really hard to forgive and accept, but once you do this, you can just be free and live in the moment and not have to carry the past traumas on your back every single day, because that is a lot more suffering than it is to just forgive and let go. Stop assuming the worst outcome. Remember what I said at the start. We are not perfect humans. There's never going to be a perfect outcome. But you need to stop assuming the worst. Because what happens when we assume the worst? Anxieties build and we become anxious. We become anxious about the future. We become anxious about what we assume may be happening or what we assume is going to happen. You have to remember that your assumptions are not real. Your assumptions are just things that your brain plays out to you to make it think that it's actually happening, even though it's not. So instead of assuming the worst things that are happening, or assuming the worst things that could be happening, start assuming the great things that could happen and the great things that are happening. Start assuming that there are happy people outside. Start assuming that there's going to be a kind person today that you can speak to. You know, once you start to assume these things, your life will become a lot more enjoyable. And your assumptions are they are quite interesting, because we naturally assume the worst. You have to remember that our ancestors, to prevent them from going into danger, they would assume the worst things. And that would really just prevent them from being attacked or whatever it may be. But you have to remember that the world that we live in now is so easy. It is so easy. You know, we can go outside in the public and, you know, there are still bad things that happen in life. But if you constantly think about the bad things, then your brain is going to automatically look for the bad things. And that's where the assumptions for the worst things are going to creep up into your mind. So look for the positive things. Once you start to see the positive things, because you're looking for them, your brain is going to want to look for more positive things that are happening or that could happen. Start assuming the good things that could happen. Start assuming that you're going to have a good interview in your new job, or start assuming that you're going to make loads and loads of cool friends because of how you are as yourself, because you are you and you can attract these amazing people into your life. Start assuming the best things that could happen to you and your life will be great. Don't stress. Do not stress. There's no need to stress. You know, we are taught to think that we should have it all figured out right now. Listen, I'm 20 years old and I've just quit my job and I'm trying to build something here. You know, I don't even know what I'm building, but, you know, coming to the last bit of advice that I gave you, if I can assume the best things that could happen with my current situation, then that makes my life a lot easier in the moment. You have to remind yourself of how you feel in the moment. If whatever's making you feel anxious in the moment, is it worth thinking that thought? Or is it worth changing up the perspective a little bit to make you feel better in the moment? Because you have to remind yourself that with an anxious thought, that thing is not real. The anxious thought is not real. Whatever you're feeling anxious about, you can change. Your brain is able to rewire itself to a more positive one if you intentionally do it, if you intentionally look for the positive things, if you intentionally view the world in a positive way. Rest and take time to yourself. I know that a lot of us are trying to hustle, we're trying to get this and that, we're trying to do everything that we can, that we often forget to rest. We forget to rest our minds. You know, we have so much distraction in our lives nowadays where it's just normal to pull out your phone when you're waiting for the bus. It's so normal to look for something to scroll on your phone when you have nothing to do. It's so normal to feel distracted when you feel like you need to do something. But that's why it's so important to rest. And rest could be just shutting your eyes for 5 minutes. You know, it's as little as 5 minutes that can make a big difference. And also resting from people as well, just so that you can really tune into yourself and find out more about yourself. Because if you're constantly around people, you are being inspired by what you see, what people tell you, and what you think is right because of what people are saying to you. But once you take the time to be by yourself for a little bit, you can really start to ask yourself some questions like, do I really like this? Or is this what I think I like because someone else likes it and they're my friend, you know? You need to start thinking truly to yourself, is this what you actually enjoy? Or is there something inside of you telling you, this isn't really what I enjoy, but I'm just kind of going with the flow? You know, it's so important to just be with yourself and think about these things and really just be aware of those feelings and those thoughts. Remember, change always starts with awareness. Once you become aware of your thoughts, you can change the way you think and you can change your life. It is possible. But most people are not even aware of how they're thinking. They're kind of just going on autopilot because that's just what they've been taught and that's how they've gotten used to it. So yeah, it's so important to just rest mentally and physically from everything that's happening, you know, because I feel like a lot of people, they just don't get a break. A lot of people just don't get a break because they are constantly on go, go, go mode, and their reset is usually scrolling on Instagram, on TikTok, whatever it may be. And their mind is still not getting that break. It is on autopilot. Your mind craves distraction. The more that you feed it the distractions, the more it craves it. So one tip that I would give you to really just recenter yourself back with you is just to shut your eyes in the middle of the day. To find a quiet space and shut your eyes. And just notice how you feel. Notice what your thoughts are saying. Are your thoughts rushing all over the place? I should be doing this. I need to be doing this. Let me get my phone. Become aware of how you're thinking. And that's just the first step of tuning in with yourself. Because once you become aware of how you're thinking, you become aware of how you're feeling. I'm going to wrap it up here. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this first advice video, this little long form video that I've decided that I would create. Let me know if you want more videos like this. I'll be more than happy to create more advice videos. And if you have any questions, please leave them down below. I'll be so happy to answer them. And yeah, just make sure you do something kind to yourself today. And just remind yourself of all the amazing things that you already are, because you have so many good qualities. You just need to see them and tune into them, okay? Mwah. I love you so much. Take care of yourself, and I will be back for a next one. I will. I will be back for another video. All right.